Hi, I'm AJ Stockwell. I'm a licensed CPA and a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor. And today I want to talk about the question, what is the difference between QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop? Because I've seen that there's a lot of confusion out there. There's a lot of gray area and certainly overlap between the two platforms. And I even have people reaching out to me thinking that they're using one platform, but actually they're using the other. So let's get right into it. So first of all, what is QuickBooks? Well, QuickBooks is the most commonly used small business accounting software, at least in the US and Canada. And it was created by a company called Intuit, which is based in Silicon Valley. And even though they're a huge publicly traded company now, they still really seem to have stuck to their startup roots. They still stay very close to customers. They get a lot of customer feedback that they actually take into account. And they work very well with accountants and provide a lot of great tools for accountants. And I think that that's been a huge key to their success. So originally they created QuickBooks Desktop, which now comes in Pro, Premier, and Enterprise editions. QuickBooks Desktop gets installed on your computer, or you can also host it virtually on a remote server. And a lot of the time when people think that they're using QuickBooks Online, they're actually using QuickBooks Desktop hosted on a remote computer. QuickBooks Desktop has the very well-known flowchart style home screen where it shows how different transactions flow through the accounting system. Usually QuickBooks Desktop is on a Windows computer, but there is a Mac version as well. It was discontinued for a little while after the 2016 version, but Intuit actually brought it back for 2019. So like I said, the desktop version comes in 3 different editions: Pro, Premier, and Enterprise. QuickBooks Pro is pretty limited and really only for the smallest companies. The Mac version of QuickBooks is pretty similar to QuickBooks Pro. In general, if a company can be using QuickBooks Pro, it's probably actually better off using QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Premier is the next step up. It has a lot more inventory functionality, allows more users, more transactions, and that kind of thing. QuickBooks Premier really is the sweet spot for companies that are using QuickBooks Desktop, and it's by far the most common one that I see. And then there's QuickBooks Enterprise, which is for the biggest companies. It has a lot more features and add-ons around inventory tracking and inventory costing and advanced pricing features. Really, QuickBooks Enterprise is geared towards larger companies or manufacturers who have complex inventory needs. Each year, Intuit comes out with a new edition, so you might see QuickBooks Premier 2019 or QuickBooks Pro 2018. In general, these yearly increments don't add a ton of functionality. It's usually an update to a few things with a couple of added features, and maybe they change the look a little bit of some features. But actually, this is pretty nice because it means that you don't have to relearn the software every year. At the same time, I don't think that people usually need to necessarily upgrade each year unless one of the new features that comes out is super important to their business. You can usually go a couple of years without upgrading your QuickBooks Desktop. Then there's QuickBooks Online. And QuickBooks Online has gotten a little bit of a bad reputation among CPAs. I think that part of that is honestly because CPAs often don't like change. They're used to QuickBooks Desktop and they like to stick with it. And it's understandable that a few years ago, QuickBooks Online was very limited. However, in the last few years, Intuit has been investing very, very heavily in QuickBooks Online. It's very clear that cloud-based accounting solutions are the future of at least small business accounting and maybe even enterprise level accounting. In fact, if you go to the main QuickBooks site, if you go to QuickBooks.com, pretty much everything that you're going to see is about QuickBooks Online. You have to scroll to the very bottom to this extra little navigation menu until you see the QuickBooks Desktop options. It's almost like Intuit is actually hiding QuickBooks Desktop, and it's very clear that they're trying to get as many businesses as possible onto the online platform. And because of that, they're updating it all the time rather than those once-a-year updates that you get with QuickBooks Desktop. So the next question is, who should use which version? And I'm going to break that down between bookkeepers and businesses. So for bookkeepers, it really depends on whether you are starting your own bookkeeping business and wanting to work with multiple clients. Maybe you want to work from home, or if you are looking for a job in-house somewhere, if you're just looking for employment as a bookkeeper at a company. If you're looking to start your own bookkeeping business, I would recommend QuickBooks Online. I would recommend becoming an expert at it and signing up for the QuickBooks Online Accountant Program. I actually had another video where I talked about what I would do differently if I were starting my bookkeeping business today, and I'll link to that in the description below this video. If you're looking for a job as a bookkeeper at a company, then I would actually suggest either learning both or maybe first learning QuickBooks Desktop. This is because a lot of small businesses out there who might require their bookkeeper to be at the office and that kind of thing are still going to be on the desktop platform. Many businesses are moving to QuickBooks Online, and for that reason, I think it's good to learn both. But realistically, a lot of small businesses are still on QuickBooks Desktop. So if you learn both platforms, you're really maximizing your opportunity to find a job with a company out there that's looking for someone with QuickBooks knowledge. Then there are businesses. So what type of business should use QuickBooks Desktop versus QuickBooks Online? And that's honestly really hard to say without knowing a lot more about your business. In general, I've found that businesses that don't have a lot of more advanced inventory tracking and costing needs, like those needs that manufacturers have, can usually be great on QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online is a great solution for most small businesses out there. The fact that it's based in the cloud so you can access your books from anywhere and you don't have to back up your data is really great. When you're using QuickBooks Desktop, you have to make sure that your data is really backed up. Otherwise, you risk losing it if something happens to your computer. So for companies that do have heavier inventory costing needs, then QuickBooks Desktop still might be a better option for you. However, there are third-party inventory apps that integrate really well with QuickBooks Online. So that's the difference between QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop, and in general, how I think about the two platforms and who should be using each of the platforms. I hope that this video helped. If it did, please hit the like button below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my videos, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video.